Tasteit TV, we really want to see the person behind the artist. But I don't mean that in a way like, oh, who are you dating and all of that stupid crap. I mean, we just want to know what you think and where your music and inspiration comes from. Because that's, for us, that's what a real artist is.
Yeah, well, sure. You know, for me too. You know, I grew up with Black Sabbath, and they were always the same characters. You know, on and off stage. And same. I'm a big fan of Neil Young, and he's the same character. You know, I do adore Kiss and David Bowie, and I do like some aspects of, let's say, Marilyn Manson, for example. But I never wanted to be a part of that thing that you would wear a mask to become an artist or have a character, like Alice Cooper type of thing. You know, I'm not that much into theatrics, and I'm not an actor myself. You know, it's just, you know, strumming a bit of acoustic guitar, writing a few songs, and then hopefully one day performing them in front of people. Word artist is kind of like, it's got two angles to it. You know, in some people it kind of like evokes an idea of a, you know, self-centered, pseudo-rebellious person who doesn't give a flying F about, you know, politics or the world or anything, and besides themselves. You know, and then again, it's that crazy Salvador Dali kind of challenging character that challenges the whole world, you know, in a sense. So I don't like the word artist. I like it every other day. You know, it's just a word, which is kind of, it's hard to categorize it anyway, because what is an artist? You know, so.
Well,
you know, and how does, sorry about that, by the way, but how do you separate entertainment from art, or life from art? You know, life imitating art, art imitating life, kind of thing.
I think art needs to be real. It needs to come from emotion. To me, that's art.
Yeah, but in that sense, you know, life in itself is very artful. You know, and every, you know, living creature, every human being is a piece of art. Everybody's got a story to tell. Everybody's got a different swagger to their walk, and usually for a reason. If you know what I'm saying. So in that sense, like on an atomic level, you know, even genetics, you know, even your genes, DNA, that's a part of art as well, because you can go that far very easily.
That's true.
And it's not a negative thing at all. But in that sense, how do you define art? You know, when we're talking about Damien Hirst selling his pieces of spunk for like 100,000 quid. So that's the kind of like the challenging part of it.
Yeah.
And, and I can't remember whether it was probably Oscar Wilde saying that when businessmen get together, you know, for a dinner, what they discuss is that they discuss over art. But when artists get together for a dinner, they discuss about money. So it's one of those things. It's like hard to really. It's hard to define the line. You know, when it becomes art and when it doesn't. So in that sense, you know, but I don't care. You know, I just have the great opportunity of, you know, writing music and being able to see a lot of places in the world through traveling and touring. So if it's art, I'm fine by it. If it's not, I'm fine by it too.
Well, okay. Maybe I worded it wrong.
No. But that's a fascinating topic to, you know, discuss about, because, you know, because a lot of people see art as a kind of a shield, you know, like a mask they're wearing that they don't have to apply to the rules of society.
I never saw art like that. To me, art was the most honest thing that existed.
Sure, but then again, you know, everything Salvador Dali did was an art, but at the end of the day, he was a great entertainer. And to a certain extent, if you take entertainment as far as, let's say, Kiss, it is art. It's pop art, maybe. But what's the difference of pop art and art? What's the difference between, you know, multi-printed Andy Warhol pieces, or his movie about the guy sleeping for 8 hours? You know, and conceptual art. Then again, you know, if you just, you know, if you're verbally talented enough, you could turn this conversation into an art piece. And we can make it art, if you know what I'm saying. It's just a matter of the angle, how we're viewing what we're doing here at this particular moment in time.
What is pain for you?
Well, you know, to a certain extent, you know, when it comes to art or music or expressing yourself, you know, it's one of those things that in this world, in these modern times, you know, everybody's probably said that for the past 2,000 years, but pain is a reminder of that you live, in a way.
But what causes your pain?
Oh, what causes my pain? Watching the news. There's a lot of painful stuff happening in the world, You know, obviously there's a lot of things that are very personal, and a lot of things I don't wish to talk about because in the case of me talking about particular painful things that caused me to write a song, I would destroy the image that people have created of a couple of our songs, and that's the beauty behind a book versus a movie, that you can let your imagination to, you know, work or find a one line in a song very important for you in that particular moment in time for a very different reason that it was important for me, and that's the beauty behind, you know, music in general. You know, I don't know what, you know, Geezer Butler was looking for when he wrote the lyrics for Paranoid. I can still feel my own feelings through that song. And I guess that's the important thing. You know, it's the song or a painting can be a catalyst to yourself. Subconsciously it alters your state of mind and it gets something out of yourself. And I guess that's a good thing. It like opens, you know, it gets a couple of skeletons out of the closet.
Yeah. So you actually want people to be free to interpret your songs?
Yeah. Well, we've never been a religious or a political band. We don't have a message.
Yeah.
In that sense. So all the stuff we've always done is very personal. So it's kind of weird also to write about at times very personal things, very, you know, stuff that's very close to me, and then hide it behind some lyrics. Not to be too blunt, and I'm not talking about James. And then see how it affects people so differently. It's kind of weird. It's like it's been like the invisible man jerking off in public. If you know, kinda the vibe. So it is weird, but it's also, you know, I started writing because it's very cathartic, and maybe I didn't have friends to talk to at that time about me having my heart broken for the first time or whatever. So it was very natural for me, since I had been playing music, to express myself through music. So and it made me feel better, and that's what music at its best does. You know, when you're feeling really bad, and the weird thing is that when people are bad, they usually never listen to positive stuff. They always listen to really gloomy and doomy and rocking stuff. It's kind of like a cathartic thing. They're experiencing their pain with the artist, maybe from a different angle and from, you know, on a different level. But still, again, you know,
they don't feel alone.
They don't feel alone with the bad feeling they have. And then when they're having a good time, you know, that's when they listen to like Motorhead or whatever.
Yeah. Well, I'm talking about good and bad. I actually wanted to ask you, what do you think that good and bad is? And I mean this in a way because I've been thinking a lot about that. I mean, you have society, and you have a way that you're supposed to behave. And then you have a definition of good and bad in society. But I think a lot of pain is caused by the definition of good and bad, because sometimes that's not the same thing that you're feeling. I don't know if I'm making myself clear.
Yes, you are.
But what is good and bad for you, and how did you discover your good and bad?
I guess that's an ongoing journey, because you know, I still do believe that people learn from their mistakes, and that's probably the only way you can actually learn. You do something, and all of a sudden you realize that you're feeling really bad because of it, and that makes you not repeat that thing, which means that everybody does have their own rules of good and bad. You know, and you know, let's say I was just talking to a friend, and he was an aspiring archaeologist before he turned into journalism, and he was one of his teachers at a school somewhere was he was studying a little tribe somewhere in the middle of nowhere in the forest somewhere. I can't remember where it was in the world, but they had maybe 300 people in the tribe, and before a kid turned a male turned into a man, I guess it was 15 or 16. Before that, their routine was to, I don't know how often, but anyway, was to jerk the granddad off, and that was considered, that was an honor to do that. It wasn't called molestation, but it would be in the Western world. So it's kind of weird, especially now when it comes to pornography, violence, video games. It's kind of weird that you're able to, let's say Lord of the Rings, you're able to show the beheadings of a zillion orcs because for 12-year-olds, because their blood is black. Originally, I guess that they were thinking of making the blood red, but because red is like the real color of blood, it would be some censorship censorship organizations, it would be too real.
Yeah.
So it's kind of weird how you define wrong and right, and I still do consider, if you watch a film like Closer, the drama, that's a lot more emotionally devastating than seeing a lot of violence, because we're so very desensitized to violence, we see it so much.
Yeah.
But so that's a tough question, what's wrong and right.
I know.
You can speculate on top of that forever.
Yeah.
And I guess that we still don't know the answer when we're on our deathbeds. And that's the sexy thing about it. That could be the meaning of life. Try to define the right and wrong for you, yourself. That's an interesting thing, without hurting anybody else outside of it. That's nearly impossible, but you can always work on it.